Reach and Integrity for Wednesday night. Here we are on Saturday evening coming to you live. I'm in my ice cream shop and Mr. Yarwood's in his basement as always. And tonight we're looking at why do kids need mentors who will tell them the truth. And what do we look at that as? The power of hard coaching. So many times people are looking to be politically correct in their eyes and be gentle. Kind of like the whole, we need to have a medal for the losing team. Like, this is not how life works. So with that, welcome, Mr. Yarwood. Let's have a rousing debate tonight. Woo, woo.
I see this a lot, unfortunately. It's not, and I'm not talking specifically about parents at my school. I'm just talking in general, society in general, where it's everybody's a winner. Like, well, no, not everybody can win, right? If everybody wins, then nobody wins. It's just like everybody gets a medal, everybody gets a trophy, everybody gets praise and blah, 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 right? And unfortunately, while it might seem like it's the nice thing to be nice to the kids and all blah, it actually hurts them. And you can see it in all kinds of things. I mean, even in as far as professional sports, right? You look at some of the let's go into the NBA for instance, right? These guys who they've been coddled their entire lives. They've always been told they were great, right? And they get to this level and they're a difficult person to coach because they don't know how to be told no. They don't know how to be told that they're not the best. They don't know how to be told that they're a winner because they're not, right? Sure, they're a winner in the fact that they got to the NBA, but they're not the greatest person on the team. They're not on a team that's great. They have to listen to a coach, and they're not used to that. They're used to just getting whatever they want, and it just turns into this whole issue of bad attitude. It's when when a kid is told, oh, they they play on a soccer league and their team is number 6 out of 6, but they get the 6th place trophy. They think it's awesome. It's like, no, it's not. I firmly believe that there's kids out there, and I've seen it, that hate the 6th place trophy. They know they didn't win, right? But there's this norm that's happened that everybody needs to get rewarded for their work. It's like, no. You can bust your ass and not win. That's life. You know what happens? Figure out why you didn't win and go win next time. As opposed to, well, here's a medal. Thanks for... No, I don't want a freaking medal. I don't want anything. What I want is feedback of how come I didn't do as well as I should have and how can I fix it? And it just turns into this problem because it's constant. Everything they do, right? In school, there's not... When I grew up, we had A's, B's, C's, and D's, and F's. You didn't pass. You failed. You suck. Fix it, right? I've talked to kids. They don't have grades, right? There's no grade. There's just like these levels of you did awesome. You were great. You didn't do. It's just there's no negative built into it. There's no motivation to get better, right? Because everything is, it's okay. It's okay. I know you studied really hard. It's okay, and it's not okay. So it's something that I personally in my school I address. Right? I don't berate kids. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. But they understand that if you don't win, that's okay too. As a matter of fact, it's probably better because you're going to learn from it, right? Let's figure out why you didn't win. How can we fix it? What didn't you do that caused you not to win. So you give them this opportunity to grow within their loss, within their failure, as opposed to, no, you did a really good job. It's okay. You just keep doing what you're doing, right? Well, if you keep doing what they're doing, they're not going to get better. If you're nice to them all the time and you're always patting them on the back and saying good job, it's worthless to them. It doesn't help them at all. So I'm a huge advocate in telling the kids what they need to hear. Sometimes truth hurts, but that's what gets us to grow.
Yeah. And I think that, when we think about this and look at the whole world, especially with helicopter parents, right, does this, what I call, oh, you're so great. You're so wonderful. Here, let's cheer
You're
for you.
special.
And yet, this is an opportunity, right, to look at how to be a powerful parent and use martial arts as a place to create the path for you to follow.
Yep.
Right. And that whole piece about being honest with a student and saying, look, this is the way. Right? This is what we're up to. Versus, oh, here, let me pat your head, let me rub your ego and make sure that you're all okay and that, you'll still see yourself as a winner. And it's like, I don't hear you telling me not to think of myself as a winner and cause that to happen. But if I lose, being responsible for the fact that I lost, and what do I have to do to level up to be a winner?
Yep.
That's
Yeah,
it.
it's a mindset, and it's learned, right? Somewhere along the line, the parents, I don't know, maybe it's their opposite of what they grew up with, right? They want to protect their kids. I get it. I want to protect my son, but protecting him isn't always telling him that he's the best thing ever, that he's the greatest, that he doesn't make mistakes, that no matter what happens, he's a winner. Because it's not true. It doesn't help them, right? Right now, our life skill is integrity. And integrity is doing the right thing. For me, doing the right thing is telling a kid, hey, man, that sucked. That wasn't your best. You didn't do what you needed to do. Like when we have black belt testing, not everybody passes. And that's built in so that, hey, you need to do the work. You need to be getting the results you want by doing all the work that it takes to get there. And even sometimes doing all the work doesn't get everything you need. So we got to figure out what else can we do. But if I passed every single kid every single time, what's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point? Why even teach them anything? Right? You just show up to class, do some stuff, and then show up to class, do some stuff, and then show up to testing, get your belt, and go home.
That's
right?
Like
we have standards.
It's like handing everybody a black belt.
Yep. We have standards and they have to be met. And if you don't meet those standards, then you're going to fail. Plain and simple. And that I'm not trying to fail anybody, but I'm also not trying to pass everybody. If you don't do well enough to pass, you won't pass. Plain and simple. And I'll give you some feedback. I'll give you some corrections to work on. I'll give you some things to do to make it better next time. But I'm not just going to say, well, you were close, so everybody's a winner. No, it doesn't work that way. right? And I think it hurts kids' confidence when you constantly tell them that they're great, that they're good, that they did an awesome job, right? You might think it helps them, might help them feel better, but ultimately, I think deep down, kids know that they didn't do their best. They know. And I think,
And that,
or if they
so
do
then it
believe
becomes
it,
so then it becomes a lie, and
yep,
they hear you lying to them like
yep,
they sometimes lie to themselves.
yep,
So what we're doing is we're condoning and rewarding the lies that we tell ourselves.
yep. Or if they do believe it, reality at some point is going to catch up to them, and they're going to get smacked in the face, and they're suddenly going to realize somebody's going to teach them the lesson that you're not that good. You're going to run into, maybe you do, for us we do tournaments, right? And you're if we were to tell them, like, say, sparring, for example, we work with them and, oh, you're a really good spar, you're a really good spar, and if they're really not, but we don't want to hurt their feelings because we want them to continue, then they get to a tournament and they just get actually crushed by a kid who's probably not much better than they are, right? They come to this realization that they're not as good as they thought they were, and that really shatters confidence in them because they've always been told they're really good, you're a winner, and then you get there and you're not, right? I think if you come in with some realistic expectations that, hey, you know what? You're not as good as that guy. And that's the way it is. But we can make it so you can get to be as good as him, right? I'm not going to
And
lie to you and tell you that you are as good as him when you're not, but I can help
and
you get there.
and you can learn from people that are better than you,
Yep.
right? Like that's how you get better.
Yep. If you're always a winner, there's no learning there.
Oh,
There's no room for growth. There's no room for anything because I'm a winner. So what do I don't need to do anything else. I always win. Well, yeah, in your mind you might always win, but in reality you're getting smoked
yeah. I mean,
and you're not going
and
to
the
learn.
one of my really amazing examples for this is in the personal training and development company that I worked for 10 years. There was a guy from Toronto, Canada, that went through the education, and he was a natural, right? His ability to coach, his ability to listen, his ability to speak, stand up on a stage. He was super charismatic, right? Like he was able to memorize, right? Like he could look at this sheet and stand up and give a lecture on it, right? He was that person. And I remember seeing him do this, and I'm like, and I watched him go from being, you know, uh, a, an introductionary person to a leader, to a seminar leader, to looking at the landmark forum leader conversation. And I'm sitting there, and there was a tremendous amount of jealousy running through my head, right? I was very jealous about it. And I thought, how do I compete against that? I can't. And, I can be the best coach less that I can be and do the work my way and do the work and learn for me. I can't mimic him. I can't be another him. And what I saw was, and this is probably the hardest coaching I ever got, right? Was, hey, Coach Les, you're not as good as him. You don't know how to memorize. You can't stand up there and have everybody in the room magnetized to your every word. That doesn't mean you can't be a great leader. That doesn't mean you can't win and create your own path. It just means that path, that way, with those type of wins, that type of work is not going to work
Yep.
for you.
sometimes people need to hear the truth, because that's where the growth is going to lie, right? It's not being mean to them. I'm not going to go and say you suck, you're terrible, you're horrible, you're awful, right? But I'm also not going to say you're the best, you're the greatest, you're a winner. You don't need to do anymore. You got everything. It's not going to work, right? So you got to harsh. There's a difference between being harsh and being helpful. Because if I'm going to tell you that, hey, you know what, you got a lot of work to do. You're not where you need to be. You're not doing the things you need to do. You're not going to win doing what you're doing right now. So we got to get some stuff done, right? And you got to be tough. I teach with what I call compassionate discipline, right? I'm hard nosed when I need to be, but when the time is there, I'm also compassionate with them. But they also know I don't mince words. I'm going to tell you exactly how it is, right? I'm not going to be mean about it, but you're also not going to. It's not going to be soft. It's not going to be cushiony, right? You're not going to be landing on a pillow. It might hurt your ego a little bit because I'm going to tell you the truth. And you might not be used to hearing it, but you're going to get used to hearing it if you're around me enough. And then you're going to get tough a little bit, and then you're going to start to realize that I need to get my crap together, and I got to figure these things out. I'm not as good as everybody says or as everybody has been saying I am. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not finding fault. I'm not finding, I'm not saying you're imperfect, none of that stuff. I'm just going to tell you, hey, you got work to do. And that's the way it is.
And here's to me, that's the good news, right? Because you see that they have an opportunity to grow.
Yep.
You see that they have an opportunity to get to where they want to get to. I mean, imagine if you weren't the kind of leader that you were, Mr. Yarwood. I mean, and you came and said, yeah, I'm sorry you didn't make it today. You just have to try harder.
Yep. I look at it from the standpoint, it's like, I want all of my students to succeed. I want them all to be quote unquote winners, right? But they also have to want it. They also have to understand that it doesn't just get handed to you because you did something, right? Like if you show up to work on Monday morning and you expect a pat on the back and a high five from your boss just because you showed up to work on time, then you have very low standards, very low bar, right? If you show up to Taekwondo class and go through the motions, and then when it comes belt testing time, you expect to get a belt, and I tell you, sorry, you're not ready to test. Well, who's that? Is that me or is that you? Right? If you're not doing the things you need to do, I'm not going to coddle you through. I'm not going to make it easier for you because, it's a standards thing. And these are the standards I set, and you need to meet them. And it's not about being mean. It's not about being, it's something that everybody needs to go through. Right? And obviously there's people are at different levels, different talent levels, different capabilities, all that stuff. And, those are the things we work through. But I have the expectation of doing the work and getting to the next level is still there for you. And it's, for like my son, his standard is different than like an 8-year-old kid who just started. Right? But comparison wise, those standards are still high. That kid has to get to those standards that I set for him in order for him to succeed. And if he's not reaching them, I'm not going to say, well, you were close enough. No, right? If your goal is to get 15 points and you get 14, I'm going to say, hey, You got 14 points. That's awesome. But guess what? You didn't get 15. You got work to do. You didn't win. You weren't close enough. Close enough means you got 15. It's not
And
14.
and you can say, hey, nice job at getting, 14 points
Here's
out of
all the
15.
good things you did, but here's why
Yeah.
you didn't get 15. Let's figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very interesting time that we live in. And I think, COVID did not help our society at all.
Yeah.
And when we look at this, um,
I just think you're doing people, your children,
a
your
disservice.
employer, a disservice by not telling them the truth.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't help anybody, right? If I'm telling you you're great and awesome and you're a winner, I'm not having the integrity. I'm not being honest, right? And for you, I'm tearing down your confidence. I'm tearing down you because I'm not giving you the things you need, which is harsh reality. Because at some point, whether it's me or somebody, an employer or whatever down the road, you're going to run into that. And how are you going to handle it if you've never dealt with it before? If you've always been told you're a winner, they let you skate by, you're good enough, right? No, it's not going to work. And life is going to smack you in the face, and you're going to go, "What happened?" Well, everybody failed you along the way. Everybody who was what you considered a mentor didn't help you by telling you you're great and you're fine and you'll do okay and just keep going. We'll lower the standards a little bit so you can pass. No, it doesn't help anybody. As a matter of fact, it waters down everybody else. So it becomes an issue across the board. And if I hurt your feelings, yeah, whatever. It's going to happen, right? You choose to have your feelings hurt because of how you're listening to what I'm telling you. If you think I'm being mean to you, if you think I'm being cruel to you, then you are the person that we're talking to that needs that hard mentorship. Because if I say something that you don't like and you storm off or you have a temper tantrum or you cry or whatever, then you need me more than you realize. Because I should be able to tell you something and you accept, hey, you're right, sir. How can I get better? Versus, oh, he was mean to me. I don't like you. Okay, well, I'm not going to change how I do things because it hurts your feelings. Toughen up, Buttercup. Like I said, I'm not going to be mean about it, but I'm still going to let you know.
Yeah. And I think, part of the whole game on some of this is, I'll never forget that time that I showed up and said, I can't do it. And I left.
Yep.
And I had to deal with my internal dialogue, my own conversation about not being good enough. And I was hoping that you would say, no, coach, you're good to go. Get out there. You're not going to do it perfect. I don't expect you to do it perfect. I expect you to do it to the best of your ability. And that's what will have you win. And instead, I froze up and left. And, spent the next couple days beating myself up. And then when I got back in communication, the thing that showed up for me was, my goodness, at some point, I have to trust that you'll tell me the truth and you won't let me fail just to have a good laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Like you really are there to win and you're there to help us win.
Yep.
And I think this is the cool thing about being in martial arts, and this is the negative thing about life out there. You know, a lot of people laugh at that failure and then never complete the loop, never have a
Yep.
conversation about what's possible, why, never acknowledge people,
Yep.
you know, and teachers the day before a test say, look, you guys, you've all done really well up to this point. Now go home, cover these basics, take a look at this, make sure your pens, make sure everything's good to go. I was about to say your pencils are sharpened. Telling you how old I am. But making sure, everything's charged up, everything's ready to roll.
Yep.
And then trusting the process. And if you can't trust the process, then you're in the wrong place.
Yep. I'm a believer. I'm gonna put, like, for you example, I told you were ready. I wouldn't have had you be there if I didn't think you were ready. Now that's not to say it was gonna be perfect. That's not to say you were gonna be, the best or whatever, but you had what you needed to do what you needed to do, right? And I think my expectations were that you were going to come in and do the test and be fine. Everything I'd seen up to that point, right? But the way I responded, because I was like, you said, I don't think I'm ready. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to change his mind. He's already decided that he's not ready. What am I supposed to do? Right? I've already told him he's ready. I've already said it. I wouldn't have him here if I didn't think he was. But he's decided already he's not ready. Right? So I'm like, okay, he's not ready. So I don't know what. There's nothing I could do about that because that was all in your head, right? So I was like, I'm not going to fight you. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just going to move on. You go do your thing. I got other stuff to do.
Yeah.
And that mindset, right? Not when you are always told, for these kids, we're always told they're winners, they're great, they're this, they're that, right? I think the first time that they actually encounter somebody like me who's going to tell it straight to them, they get really mad, they get upset, they want to quit because they don't know how to handle being told that they're not a winner, that they're not as great as everybody says they are. They can be, they have the capability to be, but right now they're not. And I think some kids just, they don't like it. They shut down. They cry. They tell mom and dad, he's mean or I can't do it. Right? They have this own internal thing that I can't do it. Mr. Yarwood said I suck or whatever. It's like, even though I didn't, but in their head, that's what they hear. Right? And it creates barriers for these kids that really don't know how to deal with the reality of they're not as good as everybody has always told them they are. And it's unfortunate because those are the kids who probably need it the most. Because they're always gonna run from adversity, run from barriers, run from issues, right? As opposed to meeting them head on and figuring out how can they get better. What can I do so I can be what everybody says I am?
Yeah. It's I appreciate your firmness. I appreciate the level to which you're committed to going toe to toe against us and our stories.
For me, I want my students to be the best they can be. I want them to figure out who they are, have confidence in themselves, be successful in whatever it is they do. And if I have a small part in that, a small role, that's great, right? I want to be there. I want to be a mentor to them, to show them that they can be whatever they decide they want to be. But it's not going to be because other people are telling you you are. It's because you decide you are. And if you allow others to have that, where you just listen to everything everybody says, don't ever question whatever it is, you just go along to get along, you're not going to do well, right? Sometimes you need that counter voice that tells you, you know what, you're not as good as everybody says you are, but you can be. You just got to figure that out.
Yeah, it's a very interesting wall of possibility when you're in the position you're in.
So
and
we have
moving
I
forward.
got a quick story that kind of illustrates this. We have a kid. He is just moved into the big kids class, right? He was super worried, super scared to come to class when he first moved, because he's like, he didn't think he was ready, right? He's been a little dragon for a while, and he's like, I don't know, right? But dad, good on dad. Dad's like, no, we're going, right? We get him out there, and he's struggling. He's scared. He doesn't want to come on the mats. He wants to leave, the whole thing, right? We finally get him. He's now on the mats doing his thing, and dad is like, we've seen a big change in his attitude, because me personally, but dad too, didn't let him do what he wanted to do and quit, right? He was, his fear was getting in his way, and I'm like, no, we're going, let's go, come on, right? You gotta do it. That's just how it is. There's no, your only option is to do it, right? There's no other option. You don't get to quit. You don't get to leave. You don't get to go home. None of that stuff. You're gonna do it. And now, his dad is like, his dad says he's loving it. His dad is excited about it, and his dad joined too. Got it. He's on the mats too. So is his sister, right? So he actually went from being scared to want to come out onto the mats with the big kids class to influencing his dad and his sister to come out on the floor. And that's just in it with, a month or so. So being firm and telling them, they might not even realize what's good for them, right? You have to push it on them a little bit. Say, hey, this is what you're doing. This is how this is going to happen. And you got to be firm. And parents are starting, I try and help parents out as much as I can. Say, you are in control, right? We can't always be saying you're a winner, you're the greatest. Sometimes you got to be firm with them and tell them, no, this is how it is. And I
Now,
think
I want I just noticed the time, Mr. Yarwood. That's why I'm interrupting. And I want to just cover one point briefly. And maybe we can talk about this next week more in depth. One of the things, though, people are always asking, so what do you like about your martial arts studio? What do you like about it versus other ones? And the one thing that I know, and I really want people to hear this, is that there are studios out there where the instructors beat down on the kids in their classes. Not physically and maybe physically on some of them. But a lot of them are super hardcore, super stressed, super pushy. And, there's a level to which being the owner, being the highest ranking person in the dojo, there's a responsibility to the message.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I just wanted to put that out there because that is so antithetical to who you are and what you're up to, and it doesn't make you soft.
You can ask any of my students if I'm soft. They will not say yes. But at the same time, they also, I try and talk to all of my students, right? I find out what's going on with them. I show compassion and care to them to understand that I'm not just the guy who makes them do things, right? I'm also the guy who cares about them and wants to know how they're doing and wants to help them if they need help and be playful with them and know that I'm just a regular guy too. But there's times when you got to be hardcore and get stuff done. And you just got to know when that is and when to be, the teddy bear or whatever, soft.
Yep. So I just wanted to point that out because I know all schools are not equal.
Nope. Nope.
And we want to be responsible for that. Well, thank you, Mr. Yarwood. I think today was super productive. I think we've cracked open a subject that I think has some layers that we can talk about maybe next week a little bit.
Yep.
And really do appreciate your time and your attention. And for those of you watching from X and from Facebook, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. And with that, I'm going to play our little outro.